She was only 8 years old, forgotten, neglected, and surviving in the hidden corners of the city. But everything shifted the moment Lily caught a faint cry echoing from a dumpster. What she uncovered that day wasn't simply a baby. It was the start of a story no one could have imagined. She had no clue who the child was, nor that her choice to save him would unravel a secret powerful enough to shake one of the richest families in America. Why would a girl with nothing risk everything for a stranger? And how could one moment open the door to a family, a future, and the truth she had been searching for all along? What you're about to hear isn't just a rescue. It's destiny. Stay with us until the end to hear what unfolds, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Also, let us know in the comments which country you're listening from. The winter wind screamed through the broken back streets of Detroit as the sun struggled to rise behind thick gray clouds. 8-year-old Lily Grace Monroe pulled her thin coat tighter around her small frame. It was worn out, barely shielding her from the freezing air. Her boots were torn, her fingers cracked from the cold, but none of it mattered. She had survived 3 years on her own since her mother disappeared, abandoning her in a decaying motel room with her infant brother. That night, her brother Jaime had been burning with fever. She rocked him, whispered promises, and begged heaven for a miracle. But by morning, she faced the hardest choice of her young life. She carried him to a fire station's doorstep. Hoping someone would offer him a chance, she could not. She never saw him again. Since then, Child Services tried to catch her countless times, forcing her into foster homes she always ran from. Every time they attempted to keep her, she vanished like smoke. Not because she loved the streets, but because something inside urged her that she had another purpose, something greater, though she didn't yet know what, until that morning. Behind an abandoned gas station, as she rummaged through a trash bin for cans, a sound froze her in place. It was soft, fragile, a cry. Not a cat, not a raccoon. Different. Human. A baby. Lily's pulse raced as she clawed through the bags. There, under a damp sheet and wrapped in a ragged towel, was a tiny boy, shivering and red-faced, his weak cries barely audible. Without hesitation, Lily gathered him into her arms, pressing him against her chest. "You're safe now," she whispered. "I've got you." She sprinted through the bitter wind that cut through her coat. He wouldn't survive long. She needed warmth. She hurried to the rusted train car she called home. Inside, she sparked a fire from torn newspapers and splintered wood. She wrapped him in her scarf, rocking him beside the flames. She gave him drops of water through a straw, softening a cracker on her finger to feed him. Slowly, the baby calmed. That's when she noticed the silver locket around his neck. Inside was a faded photograph and a crest she didn't recognize. What Lily didn't know was that this child was Jacob Winslow, infant son of Chicago billionaires Thomas and Elizabeth Winslow. He had been kidnapped 3 nights earlier, and the whole nation was searching desperately. A reward of $2 million had been announced, but Lily knew nothing of that. She only knew he was cold, helpless, and crying, and she couldn't lose another baby. By dawn, Lily made a decision. She bundled Jacob inside her coat and walked across frozen sidewalks. For miles, she trudged until she reached Green Cross Pharmacy, one of the rare places she trusted. Inside, Miss Lucille Johnson, a retired nurse who sometimes gave Lily food, gasped at the sight of the baby in her arms. "Where did you get that, child?" she asked, trembling. Lily stayed silent, holding him tighter. Lucille called 911. Minutes later, an ambulance arrived. A young doctor, Mia Torres, climbed out. The moment she saw the baby, she froze. "This is Jacob Winslow," she whispered. "We've been searching for him for days." Lily blinked. The name meant nothing. But when the baby was lifted from her arms, it felt like something tore from her chest. She stood motionless as the ambulance drove away, Jacob wrapped in warm blankets. She walked back to her train car alone. That night, she didn't light a fire. She curled into a ball and wept for the first time in months, not from cold, but because for one brief moment, someone had needed her. And now, he was gone. What Lily didn't know was that a security camera had captured everything. That same night, in a shining skyscraper in downtown Chicago, Thomas Winslow stared at the footage. There she was, a little girl no older than 8, cradling his son as if he were her own. He turned to his team. "She saved my boy. Find her." 3 days later, Lily returned to her train car. It was quiet, too quiet. The door was cracked open, light spilling into the snow. Her chest tightened. She stepped inside and froze. Jacob was there, alive and warm, asleep in the arms of a tall woman in a white coat. Beside her stood Dr. Torres, and then she saw him, Thomas Winslow. Dark overcoat, silver cufflinks glinting in the lanterns. Glow. "You must be Lily," he said softly. She nodded, hardly breathing. "You didn't know who he was. You didn't care. You just saved him." Lily looked down. "He reminded me of someone," she whispered. "My brother. I couldn't save him. I wasn't going to lose another." Thomas's eyes softened. He stepped closer. "You won't ever be alone again." He extended his hand, not like an adult offering to a child, but like someone inviting her into a new life. "Come with us. You're not just the girl who found Jacob. I believe you were meant to." Lily moved forward. The woman in white gently placed Jacob back into her arms. Warm and safe, his tiny hands curled against her chest. He stirred, blinked up at her, and for the first time in years, she smiled. They rode together in a sleek black SUV along snowy Illinois roads. Jacob slept against her shoulder. The car smelled of leather and cinnamon and something she didn't have a name for: home. When they reached the Winslow estate in Lake Forest, the iron gates opened silently. Every window glowed with light. Servants hurried forward, but Thomas raised a hand. "Let her walk in on her own." Lily stepped onto the plush carpet. The floors gleamed. The warmth was thick, comforting. A kind woman led her to a room larger than anywhere she had ever stayed. Tall shelves, a 4-poster bed, and Jacob's crib placed right beside hers. "You can stay with him tonight," the woman said softly. Lily nodded and tucked Jacob in. That night, for the first time since she lost Jaime, she slept without fear. Jacob's tiny hand held her wrist like an anchor, and she didn't stir once. The next morning greeted her with sunshine and warm bread. A gentle woman helped her dress. The clothes were soft, so soft she was afraid to touch them. Downstairs, a long table was set with silver and china. Thomas stood to welcome her, embracing her tenderly. "Welcome home, Lily." She didn't know how to answer. No one had ever hugged her without wanting something. Until now. Elizabeth, holding Jacob in her arms, smiled as the baby giggled and reached for Lily. During breakfast, Thomas looked into her eyes. "Today we'll begin guardianship. You'll attend school, have tutors, and learn whatever you wish." Lily lowered her gaze. "But I'm no one. Just a girl from the streets." Thomas's voice was steady. "No. You're the girl who did what no one else could. You found my son. You brought him home. That makes you more than someone. That makes you family." Lily's lips trembled. Her reply was barely a whisper. "Thank you." And for the first time, it wasn't a plea. It was a vow. Weeks passed. Winter loosened its icy grip, and spring began to stir in the trees around the Winslow estate. Grass turned greener, the days grew longer. For the first time in her life, Lily didn't fear the changing seasons. She welcomed them. Each morning she woke in a room filled with light, beside Jacob's crib, where he slept peacefully. She went to school not because she was forced, but because she wanted to learn, to grow, to become someone greater. At first, the children whispered. Some stared, some avoided her, but Lily kept her head high. She had faced nights colder then, their words, loneliness sharper than their stares. Slowly, their whispers faded. Her kindness disarmed them, her courage inspired them. She built real friendships. Jacob grew quickly. His laughter echoed like music through the halls. And always, he reached for Lily. If she left the room, he searched for her. When he heard her voice, his little arms stretched until she gathered him close. He didn't just love her. He depended on her. She was no longer the girl watching from the outside. She was a sister, a daughter, a protector. One warm evening, as the family sat around the dinner table, Lily, Jacob, Thomas, and Elizabeth, laughter filled the air. Elizabeth looked at Lily with tenderness. "You know," she said, placing a gentle hand on Lily's, "I don't think you found Jacob by accident. I think you were always meant to. Maybe he was meant to lead you home." Tears welled in Lily's eyes. For so long she had wondered if she would ever matter to anyone again. But here, surrounded by love and warmth, she understood. She hadn't only saved Jacob. He had saved her, too. He gave her a reason to keep going when she might have stopped, a reason to believe her pain had meaning, and together, hand in hand, heart to heart, they had found what neither knew they were missing: a home, a purpose, a family forever.